Steve Nash returns to the Phoenix Suns, and it now sparks the debate I've been wanting to have for a couple of weeks now. Who's the greatest Phoenix Sun of all time? Devin Booker, Steve Nash, or the field? Let's talk about that and much more in this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube at 7 a.m. and a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member. Had to make it official. Oh, look at that. That's how those things can happen. I'm just going to leave that in. I think it's a good blooper. I think it keeps things all together. But thanks for making Locked On Phoenix Suns your first listen here on this beautiful Monday night, Tuesday morning, however you are listening, wherever you may be listening. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do it. Thousands, dare I say millions, trillions, billions, infinity Suns fans have already done. Become an everyday and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at the FanDuel Sports Book. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So some pretty great news coming out of Phoenix Suns land. I want to have the discussion of the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time, because I think my opinion isn't going to be what I think a lot of people's opinion is, but it does kind of help that I've been wanting to have that conversation for a couple of weeks now, and it's a perfect segue into it. But first, before we get into it, the Phoenix Suns did something that just makes sense. Just makes sense. It's like, ranch with your pizza. It's like peanut butter to jelly. It's like just, basketball shoes on a basketball court. It just makes sense. Steve Nash is returning to the Phoenix Suns in a senior advisory role. Now, what type of role is that going to play? Like, what does that really look like for someone like Steve Nash? Is he going to be calling the shots? Probably not. Is he going to be playing general manager? No. But not only does it make sense to bring someone back like Steve Nash to the organization, whom I think is, but I don't want to give away my take right away, but immediately a top 2 Phoenix Suns player of all time. You think of Barkley, you think of Nash, you think of Stoudemire, you obviously think of Devin Booker. I think Marion is in that realm. Walter Davis is in that realm. Tom Chambers, maybe even. Just a slew of really good history of Suns players. And Steve Nash is right up there at the very top. We know what he means to the organization. 2-time MVP, back-to-back MVP, multiple Western Conference Finals appearances. This scratches the itch for me because I am a die-hard 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns fan. Steve Nash is ultimately responsible, along with Amari Stoudemire and my favorite Phoenix Suns player of all time, Marion, into getting me into sports, not just basketball. The Phoenix Suns will always be my firstborn child, my first love when it comes to sports. And so it's nice to just be able to see him come back into the fold. But what makes it so smart is it's not like they're just hiring someone. It's not like they're just hiring someone who has no experience and it's just a good feeling. Like Steve Nash has a ton of experience in the NBA, not just in a player role, but also in player development roles, as a head coach, and now as a senior advisor for the Phoenix Suns. Now, all the Suns did today was just make it official. He obviously helped with the addition of Jordan Knott to this team. I had it up here just a minute ago. I'd have to realize where it went. Yeah, Steve Nash is to have reported help with Jordan Knott to get the Phoenix Suns head coaching job. He was one of the people that basically stood up for Jordan Knott and said, you should hire this guy. He's a really smart individual. So Nash has already been playing this role of senior advisor, senior consultant in the Phoenix Suns realm. But aside from all that, like, we know Nash is qualified. We know that people have said before they want him to be the Suns head coach years ago. We know that everything he's accomplished on the floor, like, Nash is more than qualified to be in this role of a senior advisory role to help sit in those rooms and explain to Ishbia and even Gregory at times, and unfortunately Bartlestein, who for some reason is still in those meetings, what he would envision the next great Phoenix Suns team to be. His ability to recruit players to the Suns, his IQ and EQ of the game. The biggest thing when it comes to Nash is it's just hiring more smart people into your building. Like, we had questions about Brian Gregory, and I still think whenever he talks into the microphone, he has the personality of a wet blanket. Like, not that it matters, but the dude has no ability to win a press conference to save his life. But I think what you've seen over the last couple of weeks is that Gregory is a more intelligent individual than even I've given him credit for. And in a room full of Josh Bartlesteins, who I think is just an incompetent Nepo baby buffoon, when you add someone with the IQ of Steve Nash, I think even Grant Hill would be a really good senior advisory role position with the Phoenix Suns as well. Obviously, he's working with USA Basketball, so there's no reason that he would ever do that. But Grant Hill, Steve Nash, those types of players are really smart individuals that you just want to bring in your realm. And it's just the right decision. And it continues to show that the difference between Matt Ishbia and Robert Sarver, I know Nash and Sarver didn't have like too many disputes, but like, he never retired Sean Marion's number. He never retired Amari Stoudemire's number. He didn't get along with players. Matt Ishbia has rekindled those relationships. It's not like Nash was around all the time when Sarver was here. Like, he wasn't. But Matt Ishbia has rekindled these relationships with players like Steve Nash, with players like Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, to help build up what the Phoenix Suns are, which is a very competent organization. And so, like, bringing Nash into the fold, he was already kind of in the fold because we saw what he did with Jordan Ott, but making it official shows me that this notion that you're only going to hire MSU grads and people that you're close to, like, yes, there is that idea that wants to work with the guys that he's worked with his entire life. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that he brings someone in like Steve Nash, who has a very high IQ level of the game, who is a fan favorite here, and who really should have never left the Valley. As soon as he retired, he got traded to the Lakers, and then he retired, and then he was with the Warriors. He won a couple of championships there as like a player development coach or conditioning coach or whatever it was. Then he went to the Nets, and he was there for a little bit as the head coach, and then he kind of went away after a while when Kevin Durant, kind of felt like sort of got him fired, but probably maybe Kyrie Irving more than anyone. And now he's back in Phoenix, and he really should have never left. So it's just a really smart move. It's just a really smart, it's not just a feel-good move, but it's the right move. If I were to have any other, like, would I want any other Suns player in the history of the game to be in a senior advisory role, a consulting role, or maybe even higher than that when Steve Nash kind of develops in this front office? Would I pick any other player in the Steve Nash era or in any Phoenix Suns era over him? I don't think so. Being able to watch Nash live as a kid, man, some of you don't know that feeling because some of you are a little bit younger, which is okay. You guys are going to say the same thing to kids your age 10 years from now when you're talking about Devin Booker. But watching Nash play was such a treat, and he should have never left the Valley. And the fact that he's back, it just is the right move, and it feels right. Because Nash has tried to been claimed by the Mavericks, obviously the Lakers for a spell there. He is and always will be a Phoenix Sun. And will always play a massive role in my childhood. So, because of his intelligence and his meaning to this team, incredibly A+ smart move by Matt Ishbia for bringing this guy in. But not just bringing him in, but also getting his opinion on guys like Jordan Ott. And it's just the right move. It's just the absolute right move. Credit to Matt Ishbia. Congratulations to Steve Nash. And I'm not joking with you. I hope he moves up the ranks here and at some point is the new general manager. I think that guy is incredibly intelligent and I think could be a shark in negotiations when it comes to dealing with other general managers at some point. We're talking, potentially another decade down the line. But with that being said, I've wanted to talk about this before the season begins. Who is the greatest Phoenix Sun of all time? Let's talk about it. Let's debate it. I'm excited to hear who you guys think, and let's do it next. First, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Are you ready for football season? It is freaking here, everyone. As I, grab my thing to be able to pull up the FanDuel Sportsbook odds here, as things just move a little bit slower here on Locked On Phoenix Suns. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for a kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We've been talking about lines for the Arizona Cardinals over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to give you some betting advice. Thursday night football game. I can't remember the last time the Arizona Cardinals won a Thursday night football game or a short week football game for that matter. They are somehow, some way favored -1.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. If you're feeling a little frisky and a little risky, put a $5 bet down on the Seahawks to cover 1.5. I'd actually feel pretty good about them winning that game on Thursday after watching a very anemic Cardinals offense. But hey, maybe you're not feeling like that. Maybe you want to go down the list and you want to find something else. You want a more for sure thing. Well, nothing gets more for sure than the New Orleans Saints traveling to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are -1,600 favorite. That is a massive favor. That means you'd have to bet $1,600 to win $100. So if you maybe put your $5 down there, and when that bet wins, it feels like you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Okay, so this is interesting. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but I haven't had the chance to do so because you have to find the right time to put it in there. And now I think is the absolute right time to bring this back up. So last year, Devin Booker became the all-time Phoenix Suns scoring leader, passing, I believe it was Walter Davis, for first on the list in Phoenix Suns points. And the outcry was Devin Booker is now the greatest Sun of all time. My favorite Suns player, as mentioned before, will and always will be the Matrix down here, Sean Marion. Right next to him, obviously, Devin Booker. Both pictures autographed, of course. One of those pictures, that being Sean Marion's like 15 years old. Sean Marion is my favorite basketball player of all time. He's nowhere near the greatest Sun of all time. He's probably, I don't know if he's top 10 on the list. He's one of the most influential. I think he'd be on the Mount Rushmore, but Sean Marion maybe is a top 7 guy, unfortunately. But when you're talking about the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time, I don't know how at this point you could say Devin Booker is the greatest Suns player of all time. I think he's either 2 or 3. I think there's a decent argument for Barkley, but I think Booker is ahead of him. I don't know how much I'd fight anyone on that. I think Booker is number 2. But the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time is Steve Nash. And the reasoning why I would say that is neither player won a championship. One guy got to the finals. Now you have to remember, When we're talking about the greatest Sun of all time, we have to take into account everything. So we're seeing things with a microscope. Devin Booker, when he made the finals, played a incredibly hobbled Denver Nuggets team that they swept, but they swept them. Played a Clippers team without their best player. And the Lakers were up on the Suns 2-1, and then Anthony Davis got injured. Now, a part of being the best team is being healthy, which the Suns were not also healthy. Chris Paul got injured. They had some injuries there. But I understand Devin Booker has a case to be the greatest Sun of all time. But does anyone think the 7 seconds or less Suns wouldn't have beaten the Nuggets, Clippers, and Los Angeles Lakers in those 3 rounds that Devin Booker had to play? So I know Booker made a finals and Nash never did that. And that is something. But we're talking about individual player success, the best Suns player of all time. And on one hand, you have a 2-time back-to-back MVP that like 6 players ever have actually done. I'm pretty sure LeBron did it. I think Michael did it. Jokic has obviously done it. Curry has obviously done it, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a handful of guys who have won back-to-back MVPs before. Not just MVPs, but back-to-back. That means for 2 straight seasons, he was the most valuable player. Devin Booker has only I think he was a 4th place finisher in the MVP voting the year they had the 2 seed or the 1 seed. Steve Nash, his individual success is just better than what is Devin Booker's. Now, with that being the case, just so we're clear here, and Steve Nash was awesome in his time as a Phoenix Sun. The years that he won MVP, 2005, 2006, that was the year he averaged 18 points and 11 assists. And the following year, 15 points and 11 assists one year, and then 18 points, 10 assists the next year. Like Steve Nash for 3 straight seasons averaged double-digit points, north of 15 points, and 11, 10, 11, 11, 9, 11, 11, 10 assists a game. Steve Nash did something that Devin Booker does as well, but not as high at a level. He made everyone around him better. Even when Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire finally walked out that door, Marcin Gortat was a viable center in the NBA because of Steve Nash. Now, I'm not here to rag on Devin Booker. That is insanity. But giving someone the greatest something title ever should not just be given over willy-nilly. Steve Nash is currently the best Phoenix Suns player of all time. But right behind him, and will definitely surpass him, barring any injuries, is Devin Booker. Because longevity just matters. And it's not like longevity with Shane Doan in the Arizona Coyotes a few years ago. Shane Doan is seen as Mr. Coyote, the best Coyotes player ever, got his number retired, when in reality, he just played a really long time, but he was a mostly above average player. Devin Booker is going to be a Hall of Famer. Steve Nash is already a Hall of Famer. But because of what Steve Nash did, his individual success, winning 2 MVPs, I will give him the nod for now. But over the next 4 seasons, when Devin Booker is just dominant once again, averages, 25 points a game on 45, 35 shooting, 80% shooting from the field, Devin Booker will get there. And this is not a rag on Devin Booker thing. Because after playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons with a team where Steve Nash in his prime played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 compared to 10, and Devin Booker is still climbing. After this contract runs out, it will be undoubtedly so that Devin Booker is the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time. Longevity does matter. And scoring a whole heck of a lot of points does matter. And I know oftentimes people will compare Steve Nash's points and Devin Booker's points. Some of you won't understand this because you're a younger NBA fan and you just don't remember, which, Totally fine. I don't remember when Jordan was playing. I wasn't even alive. But it was just two separate eras. In the Steve Nash era, it was very condensed. The spacing was bad. If Nash played in this era, he'd easily average 25 points a game, especially shooting the ball from deep at an exceptional level, which is something he already did. This is not a rag on Devin Booker thing. That is not the case. Devin Booker is absolutely going to be the greatest son of all time. I just don't think he's there yet. But God, you remember the years with Steve Nash, and maybe it is a little bit nostalgia. Listen to some of these 3-point numbers from Steve Nash. 45, I'm sorry, from his start of that prime to his end in Phoenix, this guy was 43, 43, 45, 47, 43, 42, 40% from three. Just otherworldly. Steve Nash averaged 50, 40, 90 from the field. Oh my God. Steve Nash averaged 50, 40, 90 from the field. In 2005, he missed it by 0.1%. In 2006. It's literally like one missed free throw. He did it again in 2007 and 2008. He actually made the 50, 45, 90 club in 2007, 2008. And that wasn't even his MVP season. I mean, hell, man. I know Devin Booker's a good player, but sometimes I think people forget just how good Steve Nash freaking was for this team. Let's dive into what Devin Booker has to do to supplant Steve Nash as the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time. This is a really fun topic of conversation, and it's just taking me a stroll down memory lane. So let's do that, and let's talk about it next. So let's close it out here. What does Devin Booker have to do to eventually supplant Steve Nash as the greatest son of all time? Outside of just playing longer and playing well. Because we know Booker at 28 years old, 29 years old, entering his prime, the next 3 years at minimum, the dude is going to be absolutely dynamic. He's going to be, a 26 point per game scorer. He's going to average 45% from the field. He's going to be a mid-range assassin all on his own. He hopefully can get that 3-point percentage up to 35, 36%. But what does Booker have to do outside of longevity? Nash won a lot, but in the regular season. If Devin Booker can get this team to another finals or a couple or more conference finals, it would immediately supplant Steve Nash as the greatest player of all time. Because although I remember Nash fondly from his MVP years, what matters more to me as a fan is winning. And it's not me saying Steve Nash obviously didn't win a ton. He won numerous times. They were 1 seeds. They were 2 seeds. If it wasn't for, RIP Kobe Bryant, the Phoenix Suns would have had 2 championships. In 2010 and 2011, I believe it was, the Suns went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals and got beat by Kobe twice. The problem with Steve Nash's ability to win was he was a smaller guard in a league that has traditionally been dominated by bigger players. Outside of Steph Curry, there's not a lot of dominant players who just rattled off a bunch of championships. And so Nash just ran into a lot of legends. And Nash is a legend in himself, but he ran into legends who are like top 20 players of all time. He ran into Tim Duncan. He ran into Dirk Nowitzki. He's probably not a top 20 player, but he's top 40. He ran into Kobe Bryant. Like, it just felt like Nash every time ran into these elite level players. And Devin Booker hasn't had that issue yet. But what I will say is, if Booker wants to supplant Steve Nash as the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time, what he firmly has to do, and it's non-negotiable, is win a little bit more. Get to another finals. make another couple conference championship games. Because although he is going to take over Nash eventually just because of longevity, you do at some point want to be seen as more of a winner than Nash was. And although Nash won a lot, he never seemed like he won the big games. I remember they lost to the Lakers in 6 games both years. I remember the year where, they played the Dallas Mavericks in the conference finals. They lost in 6 games. They got taken to 7 against the Lakers, and they got taken to 7 against the Clippers. That was such a weird year, man. And, they lost. And the Spurs, one year got cheated out of, there was betting on games. So it's not me saying Steve Nash wasn't a winner. He just ran into legends and really bad luck. Devin Booker, I don't think has had that problem yet. If he makes it to another finals, he is undoubtedly the best Sun of all time. But another thing is his longevity will likely get him there. But this is so that guys like me can't argue it. Win just a little bit more. You've already won more than Nash did. Nash never made a finals. But can you get to another one? Can you just make it undisputed? But I got to be honest with you. Between Nash, between Marion, between Nash, between Booker, between Charles Barkley, who's also kind of in that running as the greatest Suns player of all time. Damn, this team, it's a shame they have never won a title. They've had really good players. Connie Hawkins, head coach Cotton Fitzsimmons, and Walter Davis, and Alvin Adams, and Marion, and Amari, and Joe Johnson. And this team, it's not like the Charlotte Bobcats or the Hornets or the Wizards, where you're like, who's their best player of all time? Like Devin Booker would be the best player of all time on a multitude of those unforsaken, teams. And Steve Nash as well. Like the Suns have got real dudes that have real, have real juice behind them to being the best players of all time in their franchise. So that's a really fun conversation. Do me a favor, in the comment section, tell me who you think is your greatest Suns player of all time. This is a very open-ended discussion. Let's all take a stroll down memory lane before Media Day gets here on Wednesday. But with that being said, guys, have a heck of a Tuesday. Do me a favor, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button, and do 2 things. Tell me your favorite Phoenix Suns player of all time. I'm actually very curious. And tell me who you think is the best Suns player of all time. Mr. Phoenix Sun. I wonder who that would be. So hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Me and John Voida will be back tomorrow to preview Suns Media Day. So with that being said, I will talk to you guys with John Voida tomorrow. Stay safe. And for everyone in the chat, it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns.